Hello, guys and gals of the movement world. Welcome to week 11 of the 2021 National Football League season. Our movement play of the week for week 11 is actually going to feature two plays from the same individual, Jonathan Taylor, running back, second year man out of Wisconsin, representing here today from the good old cheese state. I'm actually currently right now in the land of lakes, obviously Minnesota, but I gotta honor my Wisconsin roots. You know, they say the best things come from Wisconsin, so I figured I would represent here today. And right now, Jonathan Taylor and what he's doing, just a little over halfway through this 2021 NFL season, is sort of making good on that, which what I just said, saying that the best things come from Wisconsin. Don't take that all that literally. But in regards to Jonathan Taylor, do take it literally because right now, I think you'd be hard pressed to find any player at any position who is as attuned and is playing and executing as adaptively is Jonathan Taylor. Like I said, second year man out of the University of Wisconsin, number 28, running back for the Indianapolis Colts. You can see him there highlighted in the two plays that we're about to utilize to really dive into Jonathan Taylor's movement problem solving skills, really how he goes about his craft. I think you're going to see some nuances, some maturity, some evolution from Jonathan Taylor if you've seen him play at the University of Wisconsin. And even then last year, as he was sort of trying to find his functional fit to the NFL problems and what those problems were offering and representing to him, what it is that they were offering to him. We're seeing a true evolution and maturity from his craft. Very similar to that, which what we found from other running backs in year one to year two, maybe even as they continue to kind of find their fit within respective offenses. But really what we find from Taylor is just he's no longer reliant on just hitting gaps, truly expecting his athletic gifts and his qualities there, which maybe was the way for him at Wisconsin, where there were big gaping holes often because, of course, the level of play was considerably different than it is in the NFL. Even last year, he was often trying to hit the gas pedal and not necessarily control or coordinate his movement behaviors at what I would refer to as ownership speed or executing at ownership speed, where he can still, in a really game speed type of fashion, solve the problems that were unfolding in front of him. So, what we're about to see from Taylor today within that evolution and maturity, I think will begin to illustrate this just a little bit more. You could also see it in any one of the other three touchdowns that he had on Sunday against the Bills. Again, he had 5 touchdowns. And some of the plays that he made that didn't go for scores, that where he didn't end up in the end zone, actually would illustrate that he still knows now how to execute when he must find a more speed oriented strategy or solution. It's not that he isn't still executing with that speed in those speed qualities. It's just that he's operating at a speed that again allows the problems to come to him and for him to coordinate, control, and organize a solution that is sensitively attuned and then adapted to the problem. Okay, enough ranting and raving there about that. Obviously, a few aspects of the constraints here that we're finding on this day. If we go to the bottom of the screen, you can see there's just a less than 2 minutes left in the first quarter. The Colts are already up on the Bills. They are in Orchard Park, New York, or Buffalo, New York. It's a relatively November-like day in New York, if you will. It's, I think, 45 degrees, and it has a real feel temperature of just under 40 with a 11-mile-an-hour winds, overcast skies with 100% chance of precipitation coming up. Not that abnormal for Buffalo, New York, or Orchard Park, New York, rather, for November, but that chance of precipitation is going to affect us later on when we see the second play that we're going to feature. Right now, at this moment, probably not affecting the players all that much. We're going to let it, as we have in previous weeks, we're going to let this bad boy run through at normal speed from a bunch of different angles. You can see Taylor there escaping out down to the bottom of your screen, acting adaptively. I just want to let you, if you haven't seen it, again, play for you. There's going to be a bunch of different nuances, as we have found each and every given week, that we're going to be able to highlight. I'm going to go back to the beginning and we'll let it run through one more time before we go slow motion, local problem by local problem, micro movement problem by micro movement problem here. And then obviously the unfolding, constantly integrated and connected solution dynamics that unfold alongside of that. Some cool stuff we're going to be able to get into here. Obviously, I think you've already been able to pick up on that. If you're new to Football Beyond the Stats and that which what I'm doing with the plays of the week, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the like button, or comment that which what you would like to see me feature, or ideas, concepts that you would like to hear me discuss, as I say each and every week. So getting here to this play, there's essentially two main micro problems. And when I say micro problems, again, I've alluded to this in the past, but we can't really nicely and neatly, really cutely distinguish or isolate what really forms a movement problem. Really realize here that this is a continuous unfolding, dynamically changing problem, and the movement solution process, that composition process of perceptions, cognitions, or the intentions and decision making, and then ultimately the actions and the way that those are coordinated and controlled, are all going to be continuously unfolding. We don't know where one movement problem ends and another one begins. But that being said, there's two main problems here that we're going to feature. The first one is going to be obviously him not only getting open and presenting a target for his quarterback Carson Wentz. Number two, being able to catch the football and make a football move, solve that respective problem in the open field, one-on-one in a bunch of space with a hard charging safety bearing down on him in number 24, Taron Johnson. So what we see here now, again, we're at 50% speed. Him escaping, obviously taking the play action fake from Carson Wentz. He is wide open here. I want to show you something, obviously, with this, if I could. Mainly, if you look at my mouse here, number 24, Taron Johnson is kind of playing as a spy type of role right now, knowing that Carson Wentz is rolling to his right, with the expectation or with the knowledge of, as well as knowledge about the tactics that the Colts are employing here. Wentz knows that Taylor is going to be escaping out of the backfield. So this is a shared affordance here. This is a continuous co-adaptive relationship here. Without Wentz acting the way that he did, rolling right, it doesn't put Taylor as open as he is going to end up being if Wentz doesn't play this out accordingly. But right now, obviously, Wentz knows and sees right here, Taron Johnson, as I circle him with that highlighted mouse, is in a awkward position to be able to move towards Taylor's area and in his direction in a place to adequately cover him. So Wentz knows right now where he's going with the football, obviously, and he does exactly that. He gives Taylor a chance to be able to run up underneath this. Notice I'm going kind of frame by frame here, moment by moment, because there's some stuff that's going to be pertinent for us when we look at what types of qualities make this movement solution and make this movement skill execution really possible. We find oftentimes, I'm going to pause here for a moment, we can find oftentimes both running backs as well as tight ends, and then additionally some wide receivers, when a ball is in the air and they have a defender crashing down upon them, coming in hot, expecting to sort of deliver a blow with bad intentions, oftentimes these receiving players can get a bit distracted. They can have their attention to flow or be distracted momentarily to the point or place where they end up dropping the football, right? We've seen it time and time again. And it's something that allows this movement solution and its execution right here, right before this moment in time when the ball reaches him. Jonathan Taylor must become attuned to and adapt around two specifying sources of information, right? Number one, the ball. Where's the ball going to be? How am I acting in accordance to the ball's relation while in the air? Am I going to be in the right place at the right time? And this is not necessarily a one-to-one type of ratio. He is connecting to this information as it's unfolding. Every ball is different, and he's not just attending to the ball. The specifying information isn't just about the ball, which we see right here in my highlighted mouse. It's also about Taron Johnson crashing down on him. Okay. Johnson is looking just at Taylor. He's attuned to, sensitive to just Jonathan Taylor at this moment in time. Taylor must have his education of attention to be on two sources, ball and Johnson, and use both of them to prepare and coordinate. I shouldn't say prepare, to coordinate and control, to organize unfolding movement skill execution or movement behavior that allows him to not only catch the ball, but be in a position or place. He's already picked up the first down, so that's not necessarily his intention. His intention, number one, receive the ball. Number two, pick up yards, because I think that Taylor knows, based on when he came out into space here, that there's a lot of space to operate within. So these intentions, constantly intertwined with his perceptions and actions, are going to allow him to have this constantly changing, open, responsive, skilled intentionality here. Okay. So the moment he catches the ball, obviously, look at this position that he is in right here. Okay. Obviously, a very novel problem and solution dynamics that have unfolded here for Taylor. Luckily for him, Taron Johnson, number 24, thought that Taylor was going to end up probably more closer to the 10-yard line here. So he is running at an angle that he ends up overrunning it just a tad, right? And luckily for Jonathan Taylor here, he's able to maintain or regain some dynamic balance. So he displays a high amount of proficiency here, regaining that balance. But that's pretty sweet, actually, right there, from a pure motor action degrees of freedom standpoint. Him going right back into, look at this position. I mean, how many players do we see, especially after Taron Johnson got a piece in a portion of his leg, of Taylor's left leg here? He just stabs that right foot into the ground, quickly, rapidly restabilizes and regains that balance to get into this second movement problem. And again, I use that really loosely. But while he does that, and I apologize for the back and forth nature here. Hopefully you guys have kind of gotten accustomed to that and realize why I do it and what the rhyme and reasoning is. As he regains his balance, my guess is that we see his head, right? But I think it's he in his visual array is taking in something of the sort, right? We see a bunch of different specifying information sources. And again, I'm completely speculating here. I want to make that awfully clear. Okay. It's not like we have eye tracking goggles or glasses on him to know exactly what he's looking at and when he's looking at it. But within this gaze, okay, I think right now he's able to pick up Trey White right here, number 27. He's also got AJ Klein. I don't know if he knows that AJ Klein is here at this moment in time. When we see it from the other perspective, we might get a better inkling as to if that's the case. And then we also have two individuals here and here. Okay. But one thing I want to mention is this. When I NFL Next Generator stats this, when we get to this point or place, when he's right here, there is over 14 yards. Okay. And this is really significant between when he catches the ball and where AJ Klein is, as well as where Trey White is. So it isn't at this moment necessarily. It's, I believe, the way that I calculated it out. Again, NFL Next Generation Stats. 14 yards the moment he catches the ball and is in that initial interaction with Taron Johnson. So that's a lot of space in the NFL, obviously, right? I mean, in any American football field, 14 yards is a lot of space, even in the NFL when that space closes quick. But that allows him to get himself reoriented towards the pylon, towards the end zone. And that actually sells some things specifically here from Klein. Okay. If we look at Klein and how his behaviors are unfolding, we can watch his unfolding perceptions, intentions, and actions, and we can speculate on that movement solution process that he is coming up with, knowing that players on both sides of this dynamic relationship have this unfolding integrated relationship between perceptions, intentions, and actions. And the same thing here from Trey White, who is number 27, going to be coming in hot and going to be the guy who really Jonathan Taylor has to mind himself with. His landscape of affordances, though, is open. He gives this appearance as though he's going to act exactly in this direction here, but know that depending on what exactly unfolds, he must remain open and responsive to acting in an adaptive fashion. And that's exactly what he does. You look at him, give that little peek, and I don't want you guys to miss that. Watch him here. Okay. Right here. Watch this coming up. Boom. He gives a little look, just a little look to see where Klein is. And I don't want you to miss it. We might be able to see it better from the next view. So if we do miss it, you could see his head quick turn. It goes from right here, still taking in more of that, which what exists out here. Okay. If I were to draw something bigger, he's, trying to take in anything that exists over here in this landscape of affordances. But right now, within this landscape of affordances, the opportunities that are beckoning him are going to be quite obvious. That he's got to come up in this area and direction, right? He's got 4-on-1 essentially, even though he has his own teammate, number 84, Jack Doyle, here coming behind, who will become relevant momentarily. But at this moment in time, Jonathan Taylor believes it's essentially a 4-on-1, not in his number advantages, right? So he right now acts in a way, watch the speeds that they're moving at, knowing full well that Jonathan Taylor is accustomed to in his past at Wisconsin and in his rookie year at the Indianapolis Colts, almost too quick to hit the gas pedal, hit it too hard. I shouldn't say too quick to hit the pedal, but hitting it too hard to get himself moving too quickly. And I know that seems kind of like an oxymoron. Like, if the space is closing quick, why not move as fast as you can? Now, in some cases, with some opportunities and in some problems and what it's asking of you, that is what you should do, but not within all unfolding problems. And Jonathan Taylor, in his evolution, in his maturity now, within his skill, has begun to realize this. He slows down ever so slightly. If you look at how he's moving, the speeds that he's moving at, he does this in order to keep his options open. So he's not just making a decision and then letting that action unfold accordingly. He's acting and perceiving and intending to act, constant unfolding perceptions, cognitions, and actions in a very online fashion. So he can stay connected and coupled to that which what the problem is asking of him. And that then allows him to put himself in a place or a position to now let White overrun it, even though obviously AJ Klein still presents that threat. Just kind of take a peek with me here, if you will. Pretty cool stuff. if you ask me. Don't miss the layers in this. Okay. I know I've said this week in and week out, but the biomechanics don't have to be perfect. The biomechanics, let me see if I can pause it here in a minute, don't necessarily have to be all that technically sound. Sorry about that. Don't have to be all that technically sound. But what they do need to do is they need to be coordinated, controlled, and matched to fit the needs of the unfolding problem. And in my opinion, the only way that we get to the place where the performer has the ownership of doing that is to have them in situ, in context, solving representative problems. I mean, you can have all the deceleration capabilities in the world. You can work on change of direction mechanics as much as you can, but it's in true agility scenarios and situations when one individual has to coordinate, control, and organize a movement solution to fit these unfolding demands. And that's really where the money is made, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with Jonathan Taylor's position, but all about it is it's how it's functionally organized. Is it purposeful? Is it practical? Is it relevant to match the needs of the problem? And the reason why I'm highlighting and really harping on this is he slows down here, allows Doyle to come back into the mix to kind of block off AJ Klein, takes away an opportunity from the defender, opens up an opportunity for himself while simultaneously and it's really a simultaneous successive affordance, perception, and action, allowing Trey White here to overrun it, knowing how Taylor behaved before was that he was going to the pylon. Right now, at this moment to this moment, Trey White believes that Jonathan Taylor is going to the pylon. And Taylor is acting in a way that says, I may go there, or I may break it back inside if you, Trey White, overrun this and I can get Doyle to catch back up, which he does. Into the end zone I go. So I know that you guys think that there's a lot of, well, number one, there's a lot of interacting component parts here. This is a complex system with mutual reciprocal relationships. So I know you guys think I'm making a lot out of this at times, and maybe I am, but I believe that these intricacies start to show us the true skill execution. And honestly, guys and gals, the dexterity, the ability to solve any emerging movement problem in any situation, in any condition. Credit to my man Bernstein. Okay, right here, as I mentioned earlier, perception in attending to multiple sources of information. Multiple sources. Okay. Taron Johnson and Ball. Man alive, I'm bad with my mouse today. Sorry about that. Boom. Right here. Multiple sources of information. The only way for him to organize a solution in this way, it isn't by happenstance. This novel movement solution is still highly connected to specifying perceptual information in the environment. Taron Johnson, where is he in relation to me if I'm Jonathan Taylor? The ball, have I secured it? And am I in a place where I'm going to be in the right place at the right time to catch it? Then I must secure it. And what can I do afterwards? All of this stuff, complex movement problem, he does exactly that. Now let's look at his perception. We can speculate a little bit more about his perceptual qualities here now. Like I mentioned earlier, oops, look at this right here, okay? Look at where this may be looking and think about what it is that he might be picking up. Realize that even if his eyes are fixated somewhere, they may be anchored momentarily, but they might also be going from one place to another, or he could just be scanning longer and wider within this visual perceptual array. We don't really know for sure necessarily. We can only make educated, informed guesses about it based on how he continues to act. But look at that right now, left to right with the head, while his unfolding actions. I don't want you guys to miss this. Okay, let's go on past this first local movement problem. Now watch the perceptual gaze. Look at the perception. Constant information pickup, right to left, all in accordance to him sensing, perceiving, picking up information now, not only about the opponents, but his teammate, Jack Doyle, too. Doyle's going to get up in front of me to do some things to either wall off AJ Klein or Trey White, and I am going to coordinate my own actions to let that act in relation to it. Cool stuff here. Maturity and evolution that we're seeing from Jonathan Taylor on his second touchdown, his second of 5 touchdowns on Sunday. And so when we really think about this, guys and gals, some qualities here that I want to make a mention to that I already have started to allude to. Number one, it's not just about perceiving. It's about perceiving and acting in an intertwined, interwoven fashion. But it's not just about perceiving and acting in an intertwined, interwoven fashion. It's about perceiving, acting, and your constant, continuous unfolding interactions and from your intentions. And so what I mean there is that what he perceives, what he picks up is going to perpetually feed into his actions. Absolutely. But how he intends to act, how open and responsive he stays in a skilled intentionality fashion, how he will determine how he continues to act, and as well as how he continues to pick up information and how he continues to adaptively act. It's this intertwined, interwoven nature. I know that I kind of stumbled on some words there, but what you're seeing there is the player is not just moving for movement's sake. It is movement skill, behavioral organization matched to the problems. It's an unfolding, changing states of organization between problem in its dispositional state and actor or mover and movement problem solver. So it's problem and solver intertwined, interwoven, mutual reciprocal fashion. Really, if we were going to try to facilitate this type of movement skill, what we would attempt to do is get an individual comfortable being uncomfortable, get comfortable solving higher novelty, higher complexity, but yet doing so in a very functionally fit fashion. Is it practical? Is it relevant? Is it useful? Not an adherence to a technical model necessarily within those agility actions, but is the solution matched to the unfolding problem? Obviously, you guys have heard me talk before about tight interpersonal distances and being able to behave and interact, coordinate one's actions based on those tight interpersonal distance regions and this metastable region that sort of exists here, where you have multiple options of still acting. There's only a few ways to go about doing that. For a running back in particular, traffic navigation, where he must continually perceive and act upon not only opponents, but also teammates. Not that hard to set up activities to do exactly that, but we must do it if we expect the player to become attuned and adaptable with it. And then finally, within catching of the football, the perception action resources, the attentional resources. What information is one picking up when they must pick up secondary information as well? So attention being placed on a oncoming defender while a ball is in the air and we must catch it. Pretty easy, relatively easy anyway, to do an attack from a skill facilitation standpoint. Catching a lot of balls, but catching a lot of balls with defenders close by. So getting away from a jugs machine and just catching 50, 70, 100 balls, whatever it may be, but catching those balls from a ball that's coming in a different place at a different time with a different speed and velocity, different height and trajectory to be placed in a different spot. So you must coordinate your actions in a repetition without repetition fashion while receiving the ball, but then putting a defender close by. And that defender is just trying to essentially distract and constrain one's ability to catch the ball. So using an opponent nearby, they could even just be walking towards them. They could be jogging towards the player while the ball's in the air, and while that catching player, that receiving player, whether it's running back in this case, tight end, or wide receiver, is attempting to attend to multiple sources of information that will specify how he must continue to act. So, a bunch of different nuances here from Jonathan Taylor on his second of 5 touchdowns. I think I might have said 4 earlier. His second of 5 touchdowns. In our second video for this week, we will actually cover his fourth touchdown, his 4 out of 5. So, Jonathan Taylor, kudos, my friend, for I shouldn't call him friend. We don't know each other, even though I'm sporting the Wisconsin shirt. But if you do happen to see this, kudos for the evolution in your attunement as well as your adaptability and your overall functional fits that you're finding on an NFL Sunday. I don't think it's any coincidence that you have leaped yourself into not only the MVP, the most valuable player race for the 2021 National Football League season, but also our mover of the year for 2021. You just leapfrogged yourself a bunch on that rankings.